Alright, hey Shalom once again, Kwam Yasha'Allah. Kwam Yasha'Allah. Now, before I get started, as always, I just want to give all praises, glory, and honor due unto Yahweh Bahashem Yavashai, Bahashem Rakah HaKodash, and double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone GMS. To you I say Shalom, and Shalom to the hopeful elect, Kwam Yasha'Allah and Abad Babal. Alright, so I'm going to go into a little bit about the Druids, and the inspiration for that comes from this video here, GMS Toronto live show, October 28th, 2023. So that was the camp live show that just took place last Saturday. So the Saturday that just passed, and I'll put a link in the description. And the channel's name is GMS HistoryOfYaiqab, and that's Elder Jeremiah's channel. Alright, so I'm going to put the link in the description. And the Spirit hopped on, well, really, all the brothers, but mainly Elder Howard. He went into who the Druids were, and how they were pretty much a wicked priesthood. They were a bunch of sorcerers, witches, and warlocks. And they were very, very satanic. And he brings out the history on Halloween, because Halloween goes back to the Druids, and it also goes back to Samhain's Day. So that's another name for Halloween. And the reason why I believe Elder Howard, started going into that was because there was an actual fire ritual that took place right behind us, and that was for the Halloween celebration. And he pretty much broke that down in the spirit, and he exposed that celebration, or that fire ritual, is not just about spooks and scares, and it's not for you to have a good time with your family. That's actually going into divination and child sacrifice, or human sacrifice. And a lot of the people that partook of that ritual, they didn't know that. So you entered a contract, right? You entered a contract. So all the people that took part in that fire ritual, whether they knew what they were doing or whether they didn't know what they were doing, now you're on the chopping block. Now that demon that's being conjured up through that ritual can choose any one of you that was at that ritual. So a lot of people, they don't understand the spiritual implications behind Samhain's Day and these fire rituals that take place on that day. They don't understand where that goes back to. They think it's just for you to have a good time. And Elder Howard, he breaks that down. So a lot of you people that took part in that fire ritual, a lot of you, you guys might be called out to be a sacrifice, right? So there's a lot of heavy witches out at around this time, and there's a lot of heavy witches and warlocks, and they're coming in the spirit of Samhain. And a lot of those people are Druids, man. That goes back to Druid customs. So the elder, he broke that down. So I'm going to bring out some more information, but before I do that, I'm going to go into Druid. So it says, a Druid was a member of the high-ranking priestly class in ancient Celtic cultures. Druids were religious leaders as well as legal authorities, adjudicators, lore keepers, medical professionals, and political advisors. Druids left no written accounts. And it says legal authorities, adjudicators, lore keepers, medical professionals, and political advisor. Those professions, those same professions today, you have a lot of modern day Druids that are in those professions. And Elder Howard, he brought that out. He brought out Winston Churchill, which he was the former Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, right? This is him right here. He's throwing up the peace sign, which Elder Howard broke that down too, the peace sign. And I suggest you go watch the video. And pretty much it starts at the 1 hour and the 17-minute mark. and it continues on for about the 1 hour and 30-minute mark. But yeah, he brought that all out. And yeah, this is Winston Churchill. He was an actual Druid, so obviously he was in the role of a politician, right? Right, he was a politician, and those are the type of roles that the Druids took, because they were a high-ranking priestly class, right? So your lawyers, your judges, your doctors, right, and your nurses, a lot. Don't be surprised if you find out that a lot of them are Druids. Right? And they're into divination, man. They're into sorcery. They're into witchcraft. A lot of satanic stuff, especially cannibalism and child sacrifice and human sacrifice. So yeah, it says, while they were reported to have been literate, they are believed to have been prevented by doctrine from recording their knowledge in written form. Their beliefs and practices are attested in some detail by their contemporaries from other cultures, such as the Romans and the Greeks. The earliest known references to the Druids date to the 4th century BC. The oldest detailed description comes from Julius Caesar's Commentary de Bello Gallico. They were described by other Roman writers such as Cicero, Tacitus, and Pliny the Elder. Following the Roman invasion of Gaul, the Druid order were suppressed by the Roman government under the 1st century CE emperors, Tiberius and Claudius, and had disappeared from the written record by the 2nd century. And yeah, they had beef with the Roman Empire, with the Romans. The Romans didn't like them. Yeah, so they go back to the Celts. Right? They go back to the Celts. And you can look at that up for yourself. Right, so now I'm going to go into sacrifice, because that's what they were into. So sacrifice. Greek and Roman writers frequently made reference to the Druids as practitioners of human sacrifice, which I'm going to read that. There's more information of that when you go into the 2 Babylons. I found the PDF because I have the hard copy, and I brought this book out before, but it was for a different topic. I think it was for Easter. It's a pretty good book. It's the 2 Babylons, and it's written by Reverend Alexander Hislop, and he brings out a lot of information about Nineveh, Babylon, Egypt, and Pompeii, right? And he brings out scriptures that go into it. Now, some of the scriptures that he brings out, he doesn't break them down right, but the history that is written in the book, all the sources that he has, that is accurate. That is accurate. It's pretty good. It's a very good read. I suggest you read it for yourselves. But here's the PDF. So if you have the hard copy, you're gonna pretty much start at page 231, and it stops at page 233. So we're gonna start at page 151. But before I do that, I'm gonna just finish off this. So it says, Caesar says those who had been found guilty of theft or other criminal offenses were considered preferable for use as sacrificial victims. But when criminals were in short supply, innocents would be acceptable. Yeah, they killed innocent people, man. And you know what? The elder and also Brother Benjamin, he brought out a point. You know, that's why a lot of people go missing during this time. A lot of people go missing. That's not a coincidence. So people are being sacrificed at around this time, especially little kids. You got to be careful. And people drop dead, people die around this time, because there's a spirit behind that, and that spirit goes into Samhain, which is another word for Halloween, right? Or another name for Halloween. So innocence would be acceptable. That's right. So hey, they'll kill innocent people, man. And the Druids, man, they had a bloodlust. They had a bloodlust, and they are very wicked, man. A form of sacrifice recorded by Caesar was the burning alive of victims in a large wooden effigy, now often known as a wicker man. And that's the picture here. That's a wicker man. See if I can pull that up. That's what they're talking about. See all the people stuffed into that, and then they're lit on fire. Yeah, that's passing people through the fire. You're not supposed to do that, because this really goes back to Molech. You go in the scriptures. Actually, you know what? Let me get a precept. It goes back to Baal, and it also goes back to Molech, because the Druids were into Baal and Molech as well. So here we go. Jeremiah chapter 32 and 35. And they built the high places of Baal, which are in the valley of the son of Hinnom, to cause their sons and their daughters to pass through the fire unto Molech, which I commanded them not, neither came it into my mind that they should do this abomination to cause Judah to sin. So yeah, and that's what our people were doing, going into the different gods of the other nations and passing their sons and their daughters through the fire, which you're not supposed to do that. Passing your sons and daughters through the fire to get blessings. Not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to kill innocents and put people through the fire like that. It's against the law. Not supposed to do that. Here's another one. Jeremiah chapter 19 verse 5. They have built also the high places of Baal to burn their sons with the fire for burnt offerings unto Baal, which I commanded not, nor spake it, neither came it into my mind. Which Baal, Molech, they're all different names for Satan, man, and they all do the same things. And they were into Baal worship, the Druids. Okay, that all goes back to Baal and Molech worship. So, yeah, let's go back here. So that's the passing people through the fire. That's the wicker men. A differing account came for the 10th century Commenta Bernicia, which stated that sacrifices to the deities Teotates, Assus, and Taranis were by drowning, hanging, and burning, respectively. Wow. Diodorus Siculus, yeah, so he was a historian. I believe he was a Roman historian, right, or a Greek historian. Asserts that a sacrifice acceptable to the Celtic gods had to be attended by a Druid. And the thing is, I wouldn't be surprised, the person that was hosting the fire ritual, I wouldn't be surprised if they were a Druid priest or priestess. I wouldn't be surprised. And a lot of these Druids, they're in disguise. Okay, because we read what occupations they're into. But it's not just these occupations, right, nowadays. Because we're living in Babylon the Great. So it's worse than how it was in the ancient world. It's magnified by times 10. But a lot of them are hiding in these different professions, right? But I wouldn't be surprised the person that hosted that fire ritual, I wouldn't be surprised if they were a Druid. So keep that in mind. All right, so let's go back down. For they were the intermediaries between the people and the divinities. He remarked upon the importance of prophets in Druidic ritual. So yeah, they were like priests, because a priest is an intercessor. So just like, for example, in Hebrew tradition, custom, and how they worship Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, you would have a high priest. So he was like a mediator between the people and the Most High, right? So these Druids, they're like priests, man. Okay, because that's a priest's job. So that's just some history behind that, and everything else is pretty good. Now let's go into Samhain. Let's go into the word here, Samhain, because that's the word for that's another title for Halloween, Samhain's Day, which goes into the Lord of the Dead, or the God of the Dead, and that's what they're going into, and that's what you're worshiping. You're coming in that spirit. That's what Halloween's all about, being in the spirit of the dead. And it goes into divination and passing people through the fire. So it says Samhain is a Gaelic festival on November 1st, marking the end of the harvest season and beginning of winter or darker half of the year. It is also the Irish language name for November. Celebrations begin on the evening of 31st of October, since the Celtic day began and ended at sunset. This is about halfway between the autumnal equinox and winter solstice. It is one of the 4 Gaelic seasonal festivals, along with the Imbolc, Beltane, and Luganaza. Historically, it was widely observed throughout Ireland, Scotland, Galicia, and the Isles of Man. A similar festival is held by the Brittonic Celtic people called Callan Gaif in Wales, Allantide in Cornwall, and Nos Annan in Brittany. Samhain is believed to have Celtic pagan origins, and some Neolithic passage tombs in Ireland and Britain are aligned with the sunrise at the time of Samhain. It is mentioned in the earliest Irish literature from the 9th century and is associated with many important events in Irish mythology. The early literature says Samhain was marked by great gatherings and feasts, and was when the ancient burial mounds were open, which were seen as portals to the other world. And that's what Elder Howard goes into. He talks about this is the time of the year where other world and this world is very close. Like the portals are open. Spirits are able to come into this realm easier. And that's why people are doing so much fire rituals. That's why people are doing so much sacrifices to get in tune with these demons, man. To make these demons come inside of them. So that's the history behind that. Right? A little bit of history on that. So here we go. Some of the literature also associates Samhain with bonfires and sacrifices. And that's what happened right behind us. This is all Samhain's Day. This is all in the spirit of Halloween. And you see little kids walking up and down. A lot of you adults with your children, you don't even know what you're doing, man. You don't know what the hell you're conjuring up. And you don't even know that you're partaking in a sacrifice. So you're making yourself a candidate to become sacrificed. A lot of you people don't know what you're doing when you go out on Halloween. And a lot of you Israelites are involved in this garbage. But it's through the mercy and power of Yahweh Bashem Yoshai that a lot of you people aren't sacrificed. People around this time, man, they're sacrificed, man. A lot of people go missing. A lot of people are eaten by other people. It's a serious time, man. People think it's a game. So it says the festival is not recorded in detail until the early modern era. It was when cattle were brought down for the summer pastures and livestock were slaughtered. Yes, and that's what the book goes into. I'm going to get the book now. Right. So I'm going to start at, let's go into the 2 Babylons here. So this is the PDF copy, and the PDF copy is different from the hard copy, so the pages are going to be different. So like I said, if you have the hard copy, you're going to start off at page 230, and you're going to finish off at, you're going to start off at page 231, and you're going to finish off at page 233 from where we're starting, right? So I'm going to start off here on page 151. I'm going to start from here. In the Druidic triads of the old British bards, there is distinct reference to the same event. They say that in primeval times a tempest of fire arose, which split the earth asunder to the great deep, from which none escaped but the select company shut up together in the enclosure with the strong door, with the great patriarch distinguished from his integrity. That is evidently the Shem, the leader of the faithful, who preserved their integrity when so many made shipwreck of faith and a good conscience. These stories all point to one and the same period, and they show how powerful it had been, this form of apostasy, the papal purgatory, and the fires of St. John's Eve, which we have already considered, and many other fables or practices still extant, are just so many relics of the same ancient superstition. It will be observed, however, that the great red dragon or great fiery serpent is represented as standing before the woman with the crown of 12 stars. That is the true church of God to devour her child as soon as it should be born. Okay, so this is going into that great red dragon, right? Is going into pretty much the Roman Empire. When you go into when you go into the breakdown of Revelation 12, right? So, like I said, like you got to know what you're reading. You got to know what you're reading. So you got to go into the breakdown of Revelation 12, right? So sometimes like they don't really line things up. But if you were to go in the Romans 12 chapter, that red dragon would be talking about the Roman Empire coming down on the children of Israel. So we can go there. So this is Romans chapter 12, verse 1. And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, and the sun under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. That's right, and the 12 stars are the children of Israel. And I believe you can find the reference for the 12 stars in Genesis the 37th chapter. I'll just get it for edification's sake. Genesis chapter 37 and 9. It says, and I believe this is Joseph, and he dreamed yet another dream, and told it his brethren, and said, Behold, I have dreamed a dream more, and behold, the sun and the moon and the 11 stars made obeisance to me. And he told it to his father and to his brethren, and his father rebuked him, and said unto him, What is this dream that thou hast dreamed? Shall I and thy mother and thy brethren indeed come to bow down ourselves to thee to the earth? So now you know that it's talking about the 12 tribes. That's what it's talking about. The patriarchs, right? The 12 tribes. The patriarchs and their children. So that represents the 12 tribes of Israel, right? So that's what it's going into. So that's what it's referring to in Revelation chapter 12 and 1. So that's how you understand who the 12 stars are. So Joseph got the dream that his brothers would bow down to him. And the 12 stars represent the nation of Israel, which are the 12 tribes. And by the way, this also includes Ephraim and Manasseh. Just got to put that out there. They are a part of the 12 tribes. So they got the blessing from Jacob. You can go into that account in Genesis the 48th chapter. I believe it's from I believe it starts at verse 12 all the way down to verse 20. Right? So Genesis 48, 12 to 20. You can get that account. I'm not going to bring it out. You can go look at that up yourself. Right? So so verse 2, and it says, And she being with child cried, travailing in birth, and pain to be delivered. And pretty much you can also go into, I believe, Micah 4 and 10. But this is also talking about the Roman Empire coming down on the children of Israel. They were under the influence of the Roman Empire. I believe it was King Herod II of that time. King Herod II. So basically, when Yahushua was born, King Herod II, he put out the decree. I'm sorry, excuse me. Okay, thanks for holding. Wow, I was gone for a minute, man. Holy shoot, something to do. But so we're back on Revelation chapter 12 verse 2, and going into verse 3. So that's King Herod II giving the decree out to get rid of Yahushua by killing all the Hebrew babies that were ages 2 on down. So he wanted them to get killed. So that's also about the Roman Empire coming down heavy on the children of Israel. So that's that great red dragon. It's that great red dragon. So that's the history of it. Matter of fact, you can also get Matthew, the 2nd chapter, I believe. Matthew chapter 2. Matthew 2, and I believe it's 15 or 16. 16, I think. So it says here, Matthew chapter 2, verse 16. Then Herod, when he saw that he was mocked of the wise men, was exceeding wroth, and sent forth and slew all the children that were in Bethlehem, and in all the coast thereof, from 2 years old and under, according to the time which he had diligently inquired of the wise men. Then was fulfilled that which was spoken by Jeremy the prophet, saying, In Ramah was there a loud voice, lamentation, and weeping, and great mourning, Rachel weeping for her children, and would not be comforted, because they are not. Yeah, Rachel. So going into our foremother, right? Right. So that's where we're weeping. She was weeping because the children of Israel were getting slaughtered. Right. So that's going back to what Jeremy the prophet said. So yeah. So this was all due to the Lord coming on the scene. So you wanted to get rid of the Lord. You didn't want his reign to end, because Yahushua was coming back to take down the Roman Empire, right? So he didn't want that, so he tried to prevent it by killing all the Hebrew babies. Yeah, so that's what that's going into. So when you go into the red dragon, when you go back here, verse 3, and there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon having 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 crowns upon his head. And also I just want to talk about how the third part represents the southern kingdom. When you go into the 4th verse here, and it says, And his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven, and it cast them to the earth, and the dragon stood before the woman which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it was born. So yeah, the third part represents the southern kingdom, Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. And the rest of the 10 tribes, obviously, they already migrated to the New World. And pretty much the dragon represents the Roman Empire. And Herod wanted to kill the Savior. So you know what he did. He ordered all the Hebrew baby boys from 2 years on down to be killed. So you can go into the account of what's it called? To get more understanding of the 12 tribes, the other 10 tribes, that when they left and where they went, you can go into 2nd Ezra chapter 13, verse 40 on down. But I won't get that. So anyway, we covered that. So we covered the red dragon. So like I said, sometimes they don't tell you everything, right? Sometimes they mess things up when they break it down. So it says here, it will be observed, however, that the great red dragon, or the great fiery serpent, is represented as standing before the woman with the crown of the 12 stars. That is the true church of the Most High. That's right, and that's the church of the saints, which is the Israelites, first and foremost. They're the saints. To devour her child as soon as it should be born. Now this is an exact ordinance with the character of the great head of the system of fire worship, Nimrod, as a representative of the devouring fire, to which human victims, and especially children, were ordered in sacrifice, was regarded as the great child devourer. Yeah, so yeah, okay. So going into child sacrifice now. Though at his first deification, he was set up himself as Ninus, or the child, yet as the first of mankind that was deified. He was, of course, the actual father of all the Babylonian gods, and therefore, in that character, he was afterwards universally regarded. True. Now let's move on. We're gonna get down. This is the main part here. This is what I want to get into. So you notice this guy comes up, Diodorus Siculus, and we just read about him over here. This is the Greek historian. So Wikipedia was on point. Right? Wikipedia is on point. A lot of people say that Wikipedia isn't good. Wikipedia gets a lot of flack for not being accurate, but it's pretty accurate. You just have to know what you're looking for. But Diodorus Siculus, he is the Greek historian, and he gives the accounts of the sacrifices that the Druids put forth to the Celtic gods. So this is just more proof of that, right? So anyways, it says here, Diodorus Siculus states that the Carthaginians, on one occasion when besieged by the Sicilians and sore pressed in order to rectify, as they supposed, their error in having somewhat departed from the ancient custom of Carthage, in this respect hastily chose out 200 of the noblest of their children and publicly sacrificed them to this god. There is reason to believe that the same practice obtained in our own land in the times of the Druids. We know that they offered human sacrifices to their bloody gods. We have evidence that they made their children pass through the fire of Molech, and that makes it highly probable that we find that these two things were parts of one and of the same system. So like I said earlier, all those gods, Baal, Molech, they're all different names for Satan, and they function the same way. It's all about sacrifice and passing your kids to the fire, right? And that's exactly what the Druids did. And that's why Elder Howard was going into the history of the Druids. He was talking about what took place behind us. And I believe other brothers did videos. I think the Elder on his channel, this is the channel, Gms HistoryOfYaiqab, I think he probably took footage of what went on behind us, and I think he probably did a lesson on it. So like I said, I'll put a link in the description. You should check out the channel. There's probably a video there. But yeah, that's what he went into. That was all a passing through the fire. It's a ritual, fire ritual. And it's going into human and child sacrifice. So it says, the god whom the Druids worship was Baal. There you go. As the blazing Baal fire show, and the last cited passage proves that children were offered in sacrifice to Baal. When the fruit of the body was thus offered, it was for the sin of the soul, and it was a principle of Mosaic law, a principle no doubt derived from the patriarchal faith that the priest must partake of whatever was offered as a sin offering. And that's the twist, right? Because we're not supposed to pass our kids through the fire, right? You're supposed to, back in the ancient world, when you go into the sacrificial system, you would sacrifice a goat, a lamb, or an ox, or a bull, right? Or turtle doves. And that's for remission of sins. Oh man, someone's texting me now. Hold on, give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. Anyways, yeah, so, yeah. Okay, so, all these distractions. But that's the twist. That's the twist. That's the twist. That's the twist to what's being stated. That's not what we do in our practice. When you sacrifice an unblemished lamb or a goat or a bull, that's for remission of sins, right? Really that represents us being on that altar, right? And that's to take away our sins, to take away our wickedness, what we did wrong. So we're not supposed to replace that with a child or a human being or another human being, right? So yeah, so then they give you the account here in Numbers 18, 9 and 10. Hence the priests of Nimrod or Baal were necessarily required to eat of the human sacrifices, and thus it has come to pass that Ka-Nabal, the priest of Baal, is the established word in our own tongue for a devourer of human flesh. So yeah, that's where you get the word cannibal from, and it goes back to Baal. So Ka-Nabal, right? So cannibalism, and a lot of cannibalism is happening right now. Give me 1 second. Yeah, so that's what's taking place right now. A lot of cannibalism, a lot of child sacrifice. So it says here the word kana is the emphatic form of ka or Khan. Khan is a priest. Khan is the priest. From the historian Castor, we learn that it was under Baal or Baalas, that is Baal, that the Cyclops lived, and the Scholiast and Achilles, I can't pronounce that, my bad, a bit rusty, states that these Cyclops were the brethren of Kronos, who was also Baal or Baal. As we have elsewhere seen, the eye in their forehead shows that originally this name was a name of the great god. For that eye in India and Greece is found the characteristics of the supreme divinity, the Cyclops, and had been representative of that god. In other words, priests and priests of Baal or Baal. Now we find that Cyclops were well known as cannibals. Yeah, so there you go. That's just more information, right? So yeah, that's what it is, man. That's what it is. So let me get a precept. It's Leviticus chapter 18, verse 21. And thou shalt not let any of thy seed pass through the fire to Molech, neither shalt thou profane the name of thy power. I am Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. So, hey, that's against the law. You're not supposed to profane, you're not supposed to pollute the name of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. To be profane means you're outside the temple, You're defiling the name of... Give me 1 second. 1 second. Yeah, so you're not supposed to do that. Now I get one more. This is Ephesians chapter 6, verse 12. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Wherefore take unto you the whole armor of the Most High, that ye may be able to withstand the evil day, and having done all to stand. Stand therefore, having your loins girt about with truth, and having on the breastplate of righteousness, and your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace. Above all, taking the shield of faith, wherewith ye shall be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked. And yeah, so you have to be covered in that armor, which is this truth, and that comes with the name of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. And you have to have faith. You have to believe in it. Right? So, like the elder said, a lot of these wicked high priests, especially these Druids that are in that priesthood, they have a lot of power on the left-hand side. And if you're not covered and protected by Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, you're going to get caught out there. They can do a lot of harm onto you. So, it's important that you put this whole armor on. And also you have to remember that you're not wrestling against flesh and blood. You're against spirits, demons, witches and warlocks, the things that you can't see, right? The things that you can't see, and that goes into the spirit realm. During this week, it's a very heavy week. It's a very spiritual and demonic week. And you can get caught out there if you're caught slipping. So anyways, with that, I just want to give all praises, glory, and honor due unto Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakah HaKodash, and double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. To you I say Shalom, and Shalom to the hopeful elect, Kwam Yasha'Allah and Abba Ball. Shalom.